Okay, good day everyone. Welcome back to my channel. If you are new here, I say please kindly press on the subscribe button and also turn on your notification so that you know when I upload a new video. Then if you are already existing subscriber, I say welcome back to my channel. Thank you. My name is Dr. Bisaya Otokiti, and because we just resumed, many students have been asking questions on how to write their thesis or dissertation. I think it's thesis for undergraduates. Many people have been asking how do they even start their thesis. For the postgraduate, the certification. Then for maybe higher postgraduate, we call it thesis, dissertation. Okay, project, thesis, and dissertation, depending on your level of study now, would determine the name that document will be. Project, thesis, then the certification. And I've in the last 1 week I've had lots of requests on how do we even start, what does it entail, how do we go about it, and many other questions that is centered around thesis writing or project writing for undergraduates. And today, like I specified earlier, if you are writing the end of your education document for undergraduate, it is called project. For MSc or masters, it is called thesis. Then for PhD and others, it is called dissertation. So, but depending on the school of thought you belong to, but I feel that is what is right to do, my own opinion. And okay, would also I would be running through what the entire project is for undergraduates. Then for maybe MSc, you call it thesis. It is similar in structure. So if I'm saying the structure now, you can either use it for your undergraduate, you can use it for MSc or PhD. And in the subsequent week, I'll be telling you on how to write a researchable topic, how to break the topic down into independent and dependent variable, how to break down your construct into variables, and many things like that. I'll also be talking about the chapter 1, chapter 2, chapter 3, chapter 4, chapter 5, and some other universities that is not in Nigeria. They have chapter 6, they have chapter 7, depending. I've seen some projects that is up to thesis or dissertation rather, not project, that is up to 6, 7, 8 chapters, PhD, final, dissertation. Okay, the first thing, this is a complete document. It is a complete project. If it's for MSc, you call it thesis. This is a complete one. And the first page on this, it contains few things. The first thing is your topic. Maybe you are writing on COVID-19 and its effects on the performance of small scale businesses in Nigeria. So the first thing you are going to write is a single line spacing. Then comes your name, your full name. For a place where I work, your first name comes first. My name is Bisaya Oluwatosin Otokiti. So Bisaya Oluwatosin Otokiti. And most importantly, the surname is written in capital letters. Then if it's BSc, you also write your matric number. If it's MSc, you tell us in a short form where you finished your BSc form. Then usually you'd also tell us, being a project submitted to the department of so and so, depending on your department, the college where you belong, then your university. Then you now say impartial fulfillment of the requirements for the awards of BSc in the degree you are being awarded. Okay, let's take for example for like my own department. If I want to do for my own department, I'm in the Department of Business and Entrepreneurship. I would state it that way. Being a project submitted to the Department of Business and Entrepreneurship, Faculty of Humanities, Management and Social Sciences, Kwara State University, Malete, in partial fulfillment of the requirements of the award of BSc in Business Administration or BSc in entrepreneurship, depending on the course that you're doing. Then another thing that will be on this page are your supervisors. Sometimes for undergraduate, you only have one supervisor. For most postgraduate courses, you have a major supervisor and a minor supervisor. Sometimes you call it major and co-supervisor. If it's for an undergraduate course, just the name of your supervisor, it is supervisor for undergraduate. But for postgraduate study, it will be supervisors, the main and the co. And you don't need to say co or main, just write the two names on it. And also, the name of the main comes first, then the name of the co comes next. Then the last thing on that page is the month and the year. You don't need to put full stop in any of these documents. You don't need to write your topic and put full stop at the end. There is no need. You don't need to write your name and put full stop. No. You don't need to write being a project submitted and put full stop. No. Write the name of supervisor and put full stop. Or at the end of the page, you now write month and year and now put full stop. There is no need. And usually this first page is not numbered. The first page is not. It carries one, but it's invisible. You don't put it. Then the next page, which is page 2, is called the declaration page. And what does it entail? You declare that this work has not been carried out in any other institution, or you have not copied any document done, and all the materials that you have used, you have referenced them appropriately, and your name, your full name, your matric number, the program in which you are being awarded, BSc Business Administration, or BSc Entrepreneurship, or BSc Accounting, or BSc Finance, or BSc or B-Engine Mechanical Engineering, or Science, BSc. BSc means Bachelors of Science. If it's also Masters, MSc means Masters of Science. So then your college, the title of your thesis, then a place for you to sign as the student, and the date. That is the declaration page, and that is the first thing after the first page that contains the topic, that contains the name of the supervisor, date and month, your matric number. And the next page is the declaration page, and you declare that this study was carried out in accordance with policies or regulation of that university, and it has not been submitted previously for any degree in any other university, and all the reference to the best of your knowledge, and every reference of materials that you have used, that you have cited, has been referenced accordingly. That is the declaration page, which is page 2 in. Then the next page is called the certification page. And what are we supposed to expect in the certification page? On the certification page, I feel you need your own name and a place to sign and the date. You need your supervisor's name, where to sign, and the date. If it's MSc or postgraduate, you need your co-supervisor's name, where to sign, and the date. Then also you need the head of department, HOD, the head of department's name, where to sign, and the date. If it's for undergraduate, I don't know the extent of external examiner, but some other program is compulsory that an external examiner has to vet your work before conferring that degree on you. So if it's necessary, you can ask your institution. If it's necessary, then the name of the external examiner, signature, and date. Then that's the third page. The fourth page is called dedication page. The fourth page is called dedication page. I've seen many people come up with dedication, and you dedicate to God and some other people. No. If you want to dedicate to God, it has to be God only. If you want to dedicate maybe to your father, late father, your mother that is alive, or anybody, it has to be them. You can't say you are dedicating this to Almighty God for His love, for His support, for His faithfulness. And no, dedication. That is why it is not acknowledgement. It is dedication. It is singular, not necessarily singular, but my point is you can dedicate to God and others. You can dedicate to God alone, or choose others you want to dedicate your research work to. For me, it has to be God, but for other people, it has to be some other important people in your personalities in your life. Then the next page, that's the fourth page, the dedication page. Then the fourth page is called Acknowledgements. S is included, acknowledgement. And what do I mean by acknowledgement? Everybody that has been a part of the success or a part of successfully completing the project or the thesis should be duly acknowledged. And most importantly, we start with God, the owner of the universe that created us. That's where we start from. Then sometimes we go to our vice chancellor, depending on the impact they have had on you when you are writing the project. Me, I believe that vice chancellor, librarian, all those principal officers are equally important. If they have not made the basic amenities available, the completion of this project will have been maybe impossible or tedious, but they have given us a serene environment. They have made everything available, classrooms, supervisors. If the university is not paying supervisors, they won't be able to supervise you right. The classrooms, they have built structure, internet is available. When electricity power is down, generator is on. So they have created an enabling environment. The librarian, you go to the library to read, they make the environment conducive to understand. You have journals, you have article, you also have the e-library online where you can access important and recent articles on all these links that is provided by university. So I feel to a very large extent that these people are also an important part of this thesis writing or project writing. But some other people are of the opinion that what did they do? To me, I feel they are an integral part of it. And after maybe you have talked about the vice chancellor, you should feel like the bursary, the librarian, depending on your own perspective. Then another person that is important is your dean. Don't forget that without the college, the department may not be existing, especially for maybe even a small university that is just starting will still have college or faculty, then they have the department and like that. So don't forget to acknowledge your dean that has made everything easy. They might not be physically, they might not have physically contributed to this work, but morally, let me say spiritually, they have contributed to this work one way or the other that you can see or you cannot see. Then don't forget your HOD, your head of department that has also allocated supervisor for you, that has seen that he has monitored the well-being of the supervisor to see that they are doing a good job. Don't forget their own role too. Then most importantly, your supervisors. Your supervisor, if you have one supervisor, don't forget to acknowledge. Most times supervisors don't sleep. They go over the work over and over and over again to see that the outcome of the project or thesis comes out well and it is world standard. Then after you have mentioned your supervisor, don't forget if you have two supervisors, you must mention the two supervisors. Don't say one is major and one is co. The one was very, very good to you, the other wasn't good to you. One was accessible, the other, it is acknowledgement. And in the wisdom of the department, they have made those two people your supervisor. You must acknowledge them accordingly. Then also, I've talked about the head of department. Then another important thing that many students forget to include is every other members of staff in that department. Don't forget, at one point or the other, those lecturers have taken you in 100 level, 200 level, 300 level, one course or the other, till you got to final year or maybe 400 level, 500 level, when you consider writing your thesis. Some of those lecturers have taken in 100 level, 2, 3, some have invigilated you in the exam, but people, especially in that department, even in other departments, lecturers you feel that have contributed significantly to the course of your thesis, you are allowed to. There is no restriction on the numbers of people or words you put in your acknowledgement. You can also acknowledge them. Don't forget that you have borrowed 1 or 2 courses from related or close department like accounting, finance, and 1 or 2 other lecturers have taught you in the course of that 4 years or 5 years program that you did in school, or 2 years for postgraduate, or 3 or 4 years for PhD, don't forget that they have contributed significantly to the progress of awarding to for that degree. Then another part you need to acknowledge, or another set of people you need to acknowledge, are your families, your wife, your husband, your children, your niece, anybody that have significantly contributed to the progress of your work. Sometimes it might be uncles, it might be aunties, it might be friends and family. Anybody that has contributed to the course of your work must be duly acknowledged. Then if you have, maybe you are not married, you have a friend that is important, your course mates, your reading mates that you read together, your hostel mates that you stay in the same hostel together, and they have been part of this story, please don't forget to acknowledge them. Even if you have lecturers or teachers that are late, or they are no longer working in that institution where you presently belong, you can also acknowledge them. There is nothing bad in remembering them, that they have been a great part of that, of completion of that project or thesis. Then your classmates too, you must also acknowledge them. It's not compulsory. Any of your classmates that has significantly added value to the writing of this project or thesis. It's not that you now acknowledge all your classmates, people even that are not your friends or they have not added any value. Or if you want to do that, just say all my classmates instead of now mentioning their names one. That would take a lot of space and pages. So we don't want to do that. Like I said, you can acknowledge lecturers or professors that have left your university, or that are late. Like this person acknowledged Professor Sunday Oyewole Otokiti. This person also acknowledged Professor Odun, Professor Jombadi, and many like that. Then that is on the 5th page. On the 6th page, we have abstract. In the course of this semester, I would also break down what abstract means. Abstract is just a summary of the entire work. That for example, you are writing a proposal. The executive summary summarizes your work, and most venture capitalists or angel investors, they don't, at the initial stage, they don't have time to go through the content that you have submitted. All they do is go through your executive summary, and the same thing applies to project or thesis writing. Your abstract summarize all the important elements in your work. Your abstract summarize all the key elements in your work, and basically what it contains is a brief introduction, your objectives, your methodology, the methodology you have used to gather your data, how you have analyzed them, the method of sampling that you have used, and so on and so forth. Methodology in itself. Then you put your findings. What I just mentioned, method of data analysis. Once you have used your method of data analysis, the next thing is you get results, and that results are called findings. Then after your findings, there will be recommendation. After recommendation, after your finding, there will be conclusion rather. Then after the conclusion comes the recommendation. 6 or 5 elements of the abstract. And most importantly, abstract must be properly documented. It sells you. Imagine if you want to use this project to win a grant, and you just want to summarize everything. Your abstract will show us every important element that is contained in the project. It will show us your results, that is your findings. It will show us your conclusion. It will also show us what you have recommended. Although you will not put suggestion for further studies in your abstract, but mere seeing the abstract, the individual or the organization that is going through the work, or the department, knows that if the work is good or if the work is not properly documented. At a glance, you can tell us the content of the research work. Then after the abstract, you have the table of content. I hope I'm not missing anything out. After the abstract, you have the table of content. And what do we mean by the table of content? It is a page that showcases every important element of your project and the pages on which they are outlined. And the table of content, just you have your title page. Title page is page 1. Don't forget that I said that earlier, but on that page 1 you won't put page. That's the standard. Then you have the certification page, which is declaration page, which is page 2. We have the certification page, which is page 3. We have the dedication, page 4. We have the acknowledgement, page 5. We have the abstract, page 6. Table of content, page 7. Then the last one on the table of content is list of tables. List of tables. And don't also forget that you also have to outline all your chapters on the table of content. You have the chapter 1, you have the chapter 2, you have the chapter 3, you have the chapter 4, and you have the chapter 5. Then the last thing are the tables that you have used. So in case your supervisor or anybody, maybe from your department, any of your lecturers, your co-supervisor, and external examiner wants to check something, let's say for example, objective of the study on this project is page 6. It is easy for the person to just open to page 6 and see, okay, I'm looking for the objective of the study. This is what this individual has written, or this is what is on the objective of study. But imagine if this table of content is not there and I'm looking for objective of the study, and I have to start scanning through as your supervisor or as a co-supervisor, and there's no time, other people are waiting, and I have to start, where is this objective? I'll just put it aside, because there are other work to be done. There are other things to attend to. So in order not to waste time or not to stress your supervisor or the co-supervisor or any lecturer that wants to help you cross-check your work, the table of content is of paramount importance. And what are the other elements in the table of content? Don't forget that I said for this kind of project writing, we have the nomenclatures, and the nomenclatures is what I've mentioned before: title page, declaration page, certification page, dedication, acknowledgement, abstract, table of content, and list of table. But we still have the main work that consists like 5 chapters, and the first chapter is called Introduction. In the course of this semester too, I would come back to break down each of these chapters, what each of the chapter means, but this is just a brief introduction of what the entire process or the entire project contains. And by introduction, the first chapter is called Introduction, the second chapter is called Literature Review, the third chapter is called Methodology, the fourth chapter is called Data Presentation, Analysis, and Interpretation, while the last chapter is called Summary of Findings, Conclusion, Recommendation, Suggestion for Further Studies, and like that. But let's start with the introduction. The first chapter, that chapter 1, that is Introduction, it also contains more sub-components, like 10 other sub-components. And the first thing we have on that chapter is called Background of the Study. The second is called Statement of the Research Problem. The third is called Research Questions. The fourth is called Objective of the Study. The fifth is called Research Hypothesis. Then you have Significance of the Study. We have Scope. Scope comes before significance. Scope of the study, significance of the study. Then some authors says you should put limitation, but for me, I feel limitation is not important. Then from where I did my postgraduate or undergraduate, operationalization of variables is also important. So you might decide to put operationalization of variable means breaking down all your constructs into variables so that it can be researchable. Then we also have operational definition of terms. Some other people say definition of terms. Then we have chapter 2. Chapter 2, you have a brief introduction. Sometimes we call it preambles depending on your concept. Then we have conceptual review, or sometimes we call it conceptual framework, but conceptual review, where you are applying all the major concepts in your topic or in your research. Then you state what each and every of them mean. You break down the construct. The chapter 2 is basically divided into 3 or 4 parts. The first one, you have introduction. The second part, you have the conceptual review. The third part, you have the theoretical review. The fourth part, you have the empirical review. And the last part, you have gaps in literature. Then that takes me to chapter 3, which is called Research Methodology or Methodology, the methodology chapter. And you also It has like 10 subcomponents. You have the preambles or introduction, you have your research design, you have your research methods depending on your school of thought, you have population of the study, then you have your sampling methods. No, before sampling method, you have sample size selection. Usually, most times the population is extremely big that you can't use the total population, so you have to break them down into sample size determination. So you have the sample size determination, then after the sampling size determination, we have the sampling techniques. After the sampling techniques, we have research instruments, we have sources of data collection, method of data analysis, validity of the research instrument that you are using, what instrument are you using, reliability of the research instrument. Then lastly, you have ethical consideration. It means that you have to take proper permission of maybe the institution or the places or the confidentiality of the people who have helped you to feel one thing or the other, have helped you in the course of your work. Ethical consideration. For some other schools or other universities, they take ethical consideration very important rather, and you have to take permission from the institution or the organization you want to use. You have to submit, then get approval before you proceed. Then the fourth chapter, it consists of data presentation, analysis, and presentation. Once you have done your chapter 3 methodology, you have your method of data analysis. The fourth chapter analyzes the data, then it analyzes, it presents, then interprets. So I feel the topic for chapter 4 should be data analysis, presentation, and interpretation, not data presentation, analysis, and interpretation. No, data analysis, presentation, and interpretation. And basically what you do is to analyze your data, then present your data, interpret your data, then discussion of the results and your finding. Then the last chapter, which is chapter 5, is summary of findings, conclusion, and recommendation. Sometimes some other scholars feels that summarizing your finding is not so necessary, that since you have analyzed in chapter 4, you don't need to come and tell us some of your findings again and like that. Then you put your conclusion and recommendation. So the outline of chapter 5 is introduction, a brief introduction of what chapter 5 entails, then the summary of findings, you have your conclusion, you have your recommendation, then you have delimitation. In chapter 1, I said limitation. Limitations are the obstacles that you faced in the course of the research work, but delimitation is different from limitation. The limitations are, what are the limitations of the methodology that you have used? There are two different things. The first one is limitation, as that is the general obstacles or hurdles that you have faced in writing the entire project. But the limitation is the limitation of your methodology. You can't do it all because you are only studying a small part of maybe the total population or of a sector of an industry. So what are the limitations of that methodology that you have used? Then we have suggestion for further study. What are you suggesting for other people that want to pick up your project and continue from where you stop? What are the type of topic that you are suggesting? For example, I might be writing on COVID-19 and business performance of small scale industry in Nigeria. Don't forget that I've only used small scale. We have private sector, we have government institution, both state and private, both state and federal rather. We have other things, so you can suggest that since you have only looked at a small part, other people can try to look at government parastatals, they can try to look at the effect of COVID-19 and performance, or private sector, the effect of COVID-19 on pharmacies, the effect of COVID-19 and business performance on automobiles, the effect of COVID-19 and business performance on informal sector, the effect of COVID-19 and business performance on market women, different topics. So that is an example of suggestion for further studies. Then we also have contribution to knowledge. What do we mean by contribution? What has this research contributed to knowledge? Did you just wasted the whole, or did you just write for 6 months or 1 year or 3 years or your thesis, or 18 months that you have done this research and you don't have any significant contribution to knowledge? No, that would have been a waste of time. What have you contributed to knowledge? What have you added new? What is novel about your project, or about your project or thesis? What are you adding to knowledge? What are you leaving for the younger generation to dwell on and to live by? Then the last one is reference, which is also very important. Every article that, or every journal or article that you have used must be properly referenced, no matter who they are. That you have used one content or the other from their research work must be referenced. If you have cited it in your work, then it must be referenced. Even if you have used part of their work and you did not cite it, that is called plagiarism. You must cite them and you must properly reference them. Once you have done that, I don't think anybody or anyone will hold you for plagiarism. Then the last thing on that chapter 5 is the appendix. Appendix are other documents, supporting document that is important that you can't put in the course of your research. You put it at the tail end of your work. And appendix could be in form of some results, some diagrams, letter of permission, your questionnaire, letter of permission from supervisor or the industry, or letter that you have used to appreciate those people that have been part of the project or thesis writing, or letter of appreciation. You can make photocopy and attach. That is what is called appendix, and it also has to be in your table of content. I hope you have enjoyed this section and I've added 1 or 2 knowledge to you. Have been able to catch 1 or 2 things from this video. Please don't forget to subscribe. Also turn on your notification button so you'll be the first person to know when I upload a new video. Also watch and share with your friend. Thank you and God bless everyone.